Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to go over if you're in a situationship or a relationship with an avoidant partner, or just anyone who's insecurely attached. But particularly the reason why is because a relationship with an avoidant, it looks like a relationship, but it's not always labeled. But that doesn't mean you're in a situationship. There are differences between them. And I think it's important because if you're in a relationship, you actually have more leverage. I know it sounds kind of bad, but you have more leverage for them to change, and you don't have to tiptoe around every little thing all the time. You shouldn't. But especially if you're in a relationship, you have quite a bit of leverage because they're already committed to you, and you can use that to gain more healing from both sides. So a lot of techniques that I talk about on my channel, it's usually people who are more relationships, but a lot of you guys think you're not in a relationship because it's not labeled. But when I read the comments in my mind, I think, okay, that is a relationship, and you don't have to be so afraid of certain conversations because they've already chosen you. But I can tell that, but you guys can't. And so that's why I made this video. So let's first talk about if you're in a relationship, what most likely is occurring, okay? So not all of these are true, but some of these are, and usually if you have at least some of these, it's pretty much a relationship, okay? Because every relationship is different. The first one is some sort of defined commitment. That doesn't mean labels, but it does mean some communication around this. So an example could very well be the fact that you guys call each other a relationship. Some people could say that you're a special person. If it's really a severe situation, but it's still a relationship, but it's very vague, they might say a special friend, which is very strange and frustrating, but it does happen, unfortunately. But it could still have all the aspects of a relationship. That one's a little bit more tricky, but if they have a lot more of these things, then you can kind of feel that way. And that's up to you to really figure out what you want to even consider it. But it is some sort of defined commitment. A lot of times they're going to call it a relationship without saying boyfriend or girlfriend. And I've told you guys this before. A lot of avoidants, what they do is they don't say the boyfriend girlfriend part, and they just jump to wife or husband, which is strange. But I have a lot of couples that one of them is a avoidant, one or both, and they never had the girlfriend boyfriend stage. They were in a relationship that was kind of undefined, or it was a relationship but was unlabeled, and then they just got married at like year 8, right? So I just wanted to jump in for this particular sub point. If you guys are struggling with some of these relationship dynamics and you're not really sure what to do, and you really feel like there's more things that you need to work on directly, I offer those services, and I would love to meet you or you and your partner. I have both. I can see just you, I can see your partner, and we can work on those things together so that you don't have to live in this confusion. And so I have that. You can book a call with me. You can email me. That is in the description box. It is also pinned in the comments. The next one is mutual expectations about loyalty and the future. This one is probably one of the most common ones. They expect that you guys are exclusive, if that's the way you guys perceive it, and that's the way that you want your relationship. Usually that happens pretty much out the gate, but it really depends. But they expect that, or they don't like if there's anything about you not being loyal, and they expect you in the future, and they have communication around that to some extent. Even if it's not a lot, it is still there. The next one is consistency with communication and effort. Consistency doesn't mean the same thing for every relationship. All that it means, it's been the same thing for a long time, right? Some people, they consistently, like my significant other, he drinks coffee almost every morning. I don't like coffee. I don't even eat in the morning, right? And he needs to eat he needs to eat like 3 meals a day. Otherwise, he can get a little bit drained and tired. So he's consistent about his meals. I'm consistent about my meals too, but I eat just way less, and I don't like eating in the morning. It bothers my stomach. And so we're both consistent about our meals, but they look different. And so that the reason I highlighted that is because consistency in your relationship is going to look different than my relationship, right? I communicate like with him a lot. We communicate about everything. I don't think there's a topic we have not touched on in thorough detail. And so we have a lot of consistency, but some couples, they don't have that and they don't need it, right? And then some of you guys, maybe you guys don't talk every day, but you guys always go on a date every Friday. That's consistent for you, right? Plans that include each other, that's future oriented typically. Holidays, events, any future goals, very important, okay? The next one's problems are talked through, not avoided. That doesn't mean they're always talked through. It doesn't mean every moment you're going to want to talk about problems. I am a conflict avoidant. Like I don't like conflict. And so sometimes I don't want to talk through everything at the same, like in the same moment, because it can be overwhelming. And actually, my significant other is similar, probably not as much as me, but I don't like talking about everything all the time because sometimes I just want to be happy and I don't want to think about it, or I'm not sure how I feel about something, even if it's not that serious. But it doesn't mean that we don't talk about it eventually. And I think that's the main point. Talking about it, at least talking about some things, is really important. Like I've told you, we've talked about like everything you can, like we talk about a lot of stuff in detail. That's the way we are. It doesn't mean every day that's like that, but if it needs to be, we do talk about it. The next one is progress is built upon. That means that progress is there, even if it's not that often. Even if it's not that prominent, it's still there. And the last one is that commitment is a main factor for the relationship. That doesn't mean they're saying it out loud, but it is commitment. That means even if you're having a bad moment in your relationship or marriage, even if it's a couple months where it's really not that great, you don't leave because you're unhappy. You stay because you have made that commitment, and eventually you get happy again. That's the part that's really difficult about these relationships. Even a lot of relationships that label each other do not understand this one part, but it's one of the most important parts about a healthy relationship. And even if you don't have that one, it might not be for everybody. However, most healthy relationships do have that, and there's research on it. A situationship, however, is a little bit more ambiguous. And the signs typically be there's no clear label or conversation or anything about what the relationship is. Like at all. You've never even talked about it. Nothing even close. Not even a strange label like a special friend, or we're in a relationship, no label, or I care about you. None of that. There's like nothing. Maybe not even a conversation about it. The next one is one or both people avoid defining pretty much anything about you guys. So that includes like defining feelings. Even if it's, a lot of avoidants don't like saying love, like they almost feel silly about it. Like I have some patients where like they're married and they don't say they love their wife. They're doing it now, or husband, but I was just giving examples because a lot of the avoidants are men in my practice. But they were never told love when they were younger, and so now they feel like awkward. Like even when they have a kid, they're like, it's really hard for me to say that, but I want to say it to my kid. But it's like it's really takes effort, a lot of effort. So a lot of times it's that's kind of normal for avoidance. I'm not saying it's right, but if they don't say anything like they care about you, they like you, they want you happy, that can be like kind of like more of a situationship. The next one is inconsistent communication, hot and cold, right? And so remember I gave an example that my significant other, he drinks coffee pretty much every workday. If he just didn't do that one morning and then one day he did it and then one day he didn't and then he goes 1 month without doing it, then he does it one day, that's an inconsistent relationship with coffee, for example, right? And then that would be inconsistent. But because he does it very specifically certain times all the time for that particular like morning, that is consistent. That's a consistent relationship with coffee. And so you would have that if you feel like it's hot and cold, it changes. It's not really, you can't put your finger on when it's going to happen, when it's not going to happen, then that makes you feel like it's inconsistent. I know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he's going to have coffee in the morning. I know that. He's always been like that, right? You guys, maybe you don't know. You don't know if you're going to get a text. You don't know if you're going to hear from them. That's more of a situationship, okay? And I'm just using coffee as an example to translate. I know that I hope that you guys understood that. The next one is mostly casual hangouts or late night plans rather than structure and commitment to spend quality time together. The next one is little talk about the future, like not much communication about the future pretty much at all. And the next 2 points are kind of interesting, and I'm going to break them up into separate points, but they could be one. Emotional connection does exist, but commitment is unclear. And the other part of that is emotional connection is a main driving factor. So the love, the attraction, the chemistry that you feel is a driving factor, not the commitment that you guys have put together. That's the main difference. And so are you in a relationship or a situationship? I don't really know how to summarize it, but the best way to put it is a relationship doesn't always have to be labeled, but it tends to be very consistent and there's a lot of progress. Whereas situationships, it's very hot and cold and there isn't much progress, and the driving factor is very emotional in comparison to very logical or the choice of commitment. So I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.